Shalom, shalom. I hope everybody's having a blessed day, a blessed evening, a blessed week. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that I hope men start getting on the forefront of and start leading the charge, not only leading the charge, but leading the example. Hard times create strong men. Tonight, I'm going to deliver a lot of truth that some men might not be ready to hear. And this message is truly for those that have ears to hear. I'm not somebody that just picked up the Bible and started reading it to learn it just to make, my life seem like it was perfect, because it was far from perfect. Even though, my life looked good on paper, on a resume and career, man, I had several, I'm talking about a plethora of shortcomings and weaknesses and shortfalls as a man, dealing with, being a whoremonger, dealing with being a fornicator, dealing with, being a coward in my younger years, in my early 20s, in my middle 20s, pretty much wanting the booty and not fulfill a duty. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about some of this stuff that men often think that they get away with, but the Most High Yah is watching the whole time. When you are a young man and you're out here fornicating because the world promotes it in this girlfriend and boyfriend culture, you're out here whoremongering just for casual sex, and that leading to you recommending abortions like it did for me, you handing out plan Bs and recommending plan Bs. Man, I'll tell you, before I started walking in truth, in the wisdom of the Most High Yah, man, I was a coward as a man. I'll be transparent and say that, and I can get my wife to give that testimony of how I was when she first met me. This is, well before we got married. And if I could go back, and think about the kind of man that I was, man, I'll tell you, I'm blessed as all get out, that my wife said yes to me, because I know I was a plumb fool who had everything together on the outside, but internally there was so much wickedness going on that I needed deliverance out of. Even at the time of meeting my wife, I was a drill sergeant, had been a drill sergeant for 2.5 years, and it was nothing for me to lead 300-400 people, a formation of 400 plus men and women, and get them to do and to delegate. But my leadership was truly tested, in the covenant of marriage. Leadership was truly tested in the covenant of marriage. And tonight we're going to talk about, you know, how do we ensure that the next generation of men will be able to carry the charge that's levied upon them, because what we're looking at in this culture isn't it. And I'm going to discuss that tonight. All right. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1-5. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty. For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of the Most High, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. Avoid such people. Man, you think about when I just told you, if I was my wife and I could go back to the beginning when we met, I honestly don't see what she saw in me, because a lot of what I'm reading, that was me, man, a lover of pleasure rather than lovers of the Most High. And I'm talking about this casual sex that is becoming normalized as people want to get away from, and they're straying away from marriage. You know, heartless, definitely was heartless in order to lay down with a woman, know the duty that I should be fulfilling, because I saw my grandfather fulfill that duty, but say, hey, I can get away with it. Man, you don't get away with it without self-control, without discipline, being able to discipline yourself to know what it is you should be doing and act accordingly. A lot of us don't do that. We pretty much live life on the edge of what we can get away with. And that was my life for a long time. And I'm here today to tell you that you're not going to get away with it. Man, we live in right now where we have something called men going their own way. And it's crazy because a lot of these men claim to be men of faith, but they're promoting a lot of whoremongering and fornication. That's what they're promoting. Men are saying, man, you know what? We don't want to get married. We're just gonna have all this casual sex. Think about that. You know, I remember about 5, 6 years back, there was a brother out there by the name of Alpha Male Strategies. And he was saying, marriage is dead. Men go get a rotation of a whole bunch of women to sleep with. Get a rotation. That was the message. That is how men are choosing to influence others. And man, you have a choice to make how you want to suffer, because this journey is truly about long suffering. Being a man is about long suffering. And as a man, you can suffer through the adversity and persecution of your own choices, your own rebellious choices, or you can suffer the adversity that Messiah faced for walking righteously. And I hope you would be wise enough to want to face that adversity versus making bad choices that lead to death. I hope you would. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. This is a quote from an author named G. Michael Hoff. And let's break this down. You have to look at what men are saying today. And we have men that want nothing to do with marriage, and they're saying, man, only way I'm getting married is if I get a woman like grandma. But what you can control is, do you have some of the same attributes that grandpa had? That ability to punch in and punch out and continue to come home. Think about that. Man, in previous generations, men have had it harder than we have. The generation before me, the generation before that, the times were harder. Man, now we're dealing with a generation of men that I call the microwave generation, of instant gratification rather than delayed gratification. You know, men that grew up in comfort that was created by the hard times that the men prior to us had to go through. I'm talking about 2, 3 generations ago. And these strong men created this palatable comfort environment. And these environments created weak men. And we look at that today, we are in the phase of weak men creating hard times. Don't be fooled When you see some of these brothers saying, I'm getting my passport and I'm going overseas, I've been over there and lived over there, so I know what goes on. It's not majority of these brothers is coming back with wives. You can go look up the videos on YouTube of these brothers showing you their lifestyle of whoremongering in other countries and fornication. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Man, you have to recognize as a man, are you a dull piece of iron? And it doesn't matter how old you are, how wise you are. The Most High Yah can continually pour into you and put people in your life to sharpen you and make you sharper. But oftentimes, as young men, you get arrogant, prideful. You start making a little bit of money, feeling yourself, and you start being lovers of pleasure, and instead of lovers of the Most High. So tonight, it's all about, not shaming nobody, but there ain't nothing wrong with a little shame. Shame will hold you accountable. Ain't nothing wrong with a little guilt, because you're going to face your own shame and guilt from your own choices in life, no matter how much you run from them as a man. All right. So when we look at the previous generations of men, we have Generation X. Were born between 1965 and 1980. Man, we're looking at men that grew up in different times. We're looking at men that were able to keep the family together. We're looking at a generation of men that had less and could endure long suffering. And we're not seeing that today. Sugar Pop, come here. Come here, hold on. Come here. All right. I'm on live stream. Come here, just sit right here. So I got my wife here. She comes in right at a good time. When you first met me and you told me I was pregnant, when you told me you was pregnant, didn't I tuck tail and was a coward? Was. She confirms it. Am I the same man that I was then today?
Nope, you're not.
All right. So there's a live testimony. I'm doing a live stream right now talking about we need stronger men. So give me some sugar.
I'm about to go get Guineas.
All that chocolate.
You hear me?
All right.
Okay.
Go get them. All right. So there's the testimony right there, from my wife, just telling you some of the history behind this so you can see transparency. Okay. Generation Y is often mixed in or commonly referred to as the millennials, but that's a separate group. That's born roughly between 1981 and 1984. And we're experiencing something around this time frame. We're experiencing a shift in masculinity. We're experiencing a shift in righteous manhood. Okay. The youngest generation today is Gen Z. Okay. And that's those who are born between 1995 and 2009. Between 1960 and 2004, the percentage of children under the age of 18 living in father-absent homes increased from 11.2% to 27.6%. And that's all the way up until 2004. So if these kids are not seeing what it means or seeing an example of a strong man, how do we think our young men are going to be able to fulfill that role today if there's no example, of a man cut from the kind of manhood that I'm talking about, if these fathers aren't in the home? And there's several reasons why. Man, I'll tell you, just as much patience as I had to have with my wife, I didn't realize how much patience she had to have with me. And that's a true testimony, because when I told you in the beginning, a man's leadership abilities will be tested by how he governs a house. And this is why when we look at the office of elder or deacon or pastor or bishop in certain translations, it said what it's talking about, what good is a man gonna do over the office of, the church, and he can't even keep his own house in order. So the standard is always been by the Most High Yah for us to have strong men in righteousness. Okay. When we look at in 2023, 43% of US children live without their fathers. Man, and that affects, this upcoming generation of men and women, because this is why we're going to have so many, if some men don't step up to the plate and aggressively attack this problem, which is in our control, we're gonna, this alphabet community that wants to transform America, like, we're gonna go extinct. We're gonna go extinct. We're gonna have so many men that are choosing to either climb between another man's butt cheeks or say, I want nothing to do with marriage. That's what we're gonna end up. And you have to think about the conflict of Israel and Hamas, and that land being taken away from the original people, and 60 years later, conflict coming to Israel, and those Palestinians have to fight like hell. You got to think about this land that we're on did not belong to the European settlers. I want you to think about, if we were to face some kind of conflict, man, how many men would step up to defend, you know, your woman, your family, your livelihood, your freedoms, your mama, your aunties? How many men would really, of this generation, I'm 34, how many men would really step up? Or would men say, that's not my problem, as we get overran, blown out the yin yang? Man, I have several experiences and several years of combat experience across the pond. And I'll tell you what makes a strong man. And it has a lot to do with ideologies, the way a man is brought up. And it didn't matter if we were in Iraq or Afghanistan. We were dealing with young warriors. We were fighting against young warriors that grew up in hardened times. Houses made out of dirt and cement. Houses that didn't have AC. We're dealing with men that was wearing almost like gowns and sandals in the wintertime. Here we are, Americanized with all this gear, still talking about we cold. I remember as a drill sergeant, man, there was a process of transformation that when people in basic training would say that they're cold, man, we would smoke the crap out of the whole formation so that mindset didn't spread. We were trying to instill a certain level of mental toughness for you to be able to say, man, it's not that cold. Let me endure this. Because where one person says it's cold, it could be 45 degrees outside. One person says it's cold, that spreads, and then we have a whole bunch of rebellion. You think about, man, when we pulled out of Afghanistan and we pulled out of there fast, we pulled out of there like a man who was the side piece and the husband comes home. You think about that movie Friday when that midget chased that man out of the house. That's how we pulled out of Afghanistan. And they had less resources, less technology. and oftentimes beat the brakes off of us. That's the truth. But we're dealing with, when we look at some of these other societies, man, their statistics far as fatherlessness, you know, marriage, man, they're beating us in all facets of life. And you look what is being pushed over here, a new religion of abominations, and their leader is Hasatan. They removed the Most High Yah out of the schools just to allow Hasatan in, and for him to defile what the rainbow means. This generation Z and generation Y of men, most of these men don't know what the rainbow symbolizes. Only thing that they've been brainwashed through propaganda and these confused influencers is that that rainbow belongs to that community. We need stronger men. 43% of US children live without their father. You wonder why we got all of these flaming NBA players. You look at Dwayne Wade, flaming. That's a clear sign that you didn't have no example of masculinity, of righteous masculinity. To be a strong man, you need to have honor, be able to demonstrate honor, a high respect, a great esteem. Oftentimes, man, men want honor, but they don't know how to give it, especially give it to a woman. And the word tells us to honor a woman. Duty, a moral or legal obligation, a responsibility. Man, I think about all the times that I was living lawlessly, fornicating and being a whoremonger. And it's very easy to say that women don't have virtue, but it's even harder to take accountability and say, hey, you caused some of this. And I know for a fact this one caused a lot of it and did numbers. You know, because of my actions, possibly there's a woman out there that has lost some virtue and not been able to find the way. How many men have repented for that? Where we get so caught up in being lovers of pleasure and wanting some sex, wanting some booty, rather than fulfilling a duty, a moral or legal obligation, a responsibility. You know, when the word says in the last days, people will become lovers of self, that's an indication that we're in the last days, because to be a strong man is to be selfless. It means concern more to keep your family together, to guide your house, concern more with the needs and wishes of others than the wishes of one's own self. So you got to think about it. To be a strong man, you need to be submitted to the Most High Yah and then selfless, because that's what Messiah demonstrated for us. It's real easy to let you following Jesus roll off your lips. Integrity, the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles and upright. Man, I need you guys to tune in. Share this right here with every man that you know. Share this. I need you guys to tune in this Saturday at 2 p.m. for my Sabbath day teaching. And we're talking about keeping your word, because not keeping your word is a sin. And we're going to verify that via Torah. Stewardship. You got to think, man, either on this platform of YouTube, man, it's very dangerous for a man that doesn't have wisdom. It's very dangerous for a man that isn't submitted to the Most High Yah, because you can get up here and lead a whole bunch of men astray. by telling them to just use women for sex, forget marriage, when the Most High Yah doesn't feel that same way. I'm going my own way. These women ain't no good. How many men have taken accountability to say, man, I might not be no good and I need some deliverance? I know I had to. Definitely had to. Stewardship, the job of supervising or taking care of something, such as an organization or property. You got to think about stewardship. How were we helping pave the way for the next generation to pick up the pieces? Man, my grandfather was the strongest version of a strong masculine man that I had in my life. And my grandfather was not a commandment keeper. He wasn't a righteous man. But you got to think, man, the people before you, the men before you might have not been what's in the book, but chances are, as a man, you have somebody that at least gave you the first block or couple blocks of a foundation. And it's up to you to carry that forward in stewardship. Servitude. Now I'm getting into something where people prideful and arrogant, they don't want to do. Servitude, the state of being a slave or completely subject to someone more powerful. Think about that. It's either you do that with honor or you do that with your head held down. And no matter what you think about that word, you're a slave to one of two. Either you're a slave to Hasatan and facing the persecution of your own choices as a man, or you are a slave to the Most High, submitted to his will and doing it with honor. Submission, modern day curse word. Men out here, we're saying, man, there ain't no submissive women. These women ain't submissive. I couldn't be with no unsubmissive women. But even the Most High requires a man to be submitted to his will. A lot of men don't get a submissive women or submissive woman because the submissive woman is reserved for the man that fears the Most High. You can go around the earth, get 10 stamps in your passport, and if you are unsubmitted to the Most High Yah, you're not going to get a submissive woman. And if you do happen to find one, you're not going to know what to do with her. You're not going to know what how to lead her. You might be able to talk her draws off in gift of gab, but you ain't going to be able to keep her. Not righteously, because you don't know how to lead her righteously. And this is why this conversation must be had. Submission, the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or the will of authority of another person. Subjugation. That's a word people really don't like. Subjugation. People start thinking about segregation. Okay. So if you don't submit now, when Messiah comes, it's going to be by brute force. It's going to be by brute force. You think your life is hard now? Subjugation, the action of bringing someone or something under domination or control. Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess. That don't matter if you believe or not. I'm not with all that God stuff. Okay, fine. Fine. You're choosing your path. You're choosing it. Leadership, the ability of an individual or a group of people to influence and guide followers or members of an organization, society, or team. Man, I'll tell you, my first marriage, I had no business being married. Army leadership that I had did not transfer over into the household. It just didn't. It's night and day difference. And I've been doing this for longer than 17 years. As far as Army leadership, it doesn't compare. You know, the next one, intestinal fortitude. Strong men have intestinal fortitude, the courage and determination necessary to do something difficult or unpleasant. We got men out here that think just because they got a strong jawline, some muscles, and a beard, that they're strong, that they're alpha. When you sit up and smooch off of women, let women take care of you because you're too lazy to want to work yourself and do what the Most High Yah called you to do. Intestinal fortitude. Punching in and punching out. Don't let nobody tell you a 9 to 5 is bad. A 9 to 5 might not seem like a whole lot in the beginning, but when we compound that interest of you doing that, man, it takes intestinal fortitude to do that. Now I want to talk to you about the attributes of a great leader. Man, I know what it's like to have a leader that sucks. I've experienced several of them. And men, you need to hear this. A lot of men think that they are great leaders. You think you are capable leaders. You think you are experienced leaders. But let me break it to you. It's a doggone shame that you have all of that confidence and no competence in actual leadership. And a woman has had to suffer the pain of your inability to lead. Man, as a man, if you are not submitted to the Most High, walking in Torah, and you think you're leading a woman, man, you're leading a woman to iniquity. You're leading a woman to lawlessness. We've heard the saying, man, I can do bad all by myself. That's a true statement. She didn't need you to lead her to Sheol, lead her to darkness, and you call yourself leading. This is why we need these teachings. Empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and connect with others emotionally. Man, that takes time. Empathy with someone you're not in relationship with is not the same as the level of empathy that you need when you're in covenant with a woman. Good leaders use empathy to build rapport, resolve conflicts, and create a supportive and inclusive work environment. It shows team members that their leaders care about their well-being. Men, this is a part of being selfless. You got to care about your wife, your kids. You got to care about their well-being. Because if you put you first before the family, guess what's going to fall apart? The family. We look at the name Adam, but when we look in science, everything falls apart without an atom. Self-awareness. Self-aware leaders understand their strengths and weaknesses. Tell you a major weakness I had, no matter how chiseled I was, no matter how good, I looked on a resume, man, I was a coward. Man, I was hitting women left and right and ducking and dodging, sending them a text, it's over. My wife will tell you. This awareness enables them to make informed decisions, leverage their strengths, and work on areas that need improvement. It also allows them to relate better to their team members. Man, we live in this generation right now where they're pushing all these different titles, Sigma male, alpha male. I don't give a dang if you got 1 million followers and all these men look to you to be a alpha male. If you're not submitted to the Most High Yah and walking in his will like Messiah did, you ain't worth shit. And I hope that hits home to the point where you say, dang, man, I wanna serve the Most High. Because in the end, you don't want to be a man who's had a worthless life and you didn't live up to the expectation or the standard and you've been shooting below the standard the whole time. Resilience, the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. Toughness, the ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape. Elasticity. Be honest with you, man, there's times as a man where you can get down about some of the strength that you have to have, but you have to be able to shake it off and know that the Most High Yah created you to bear that weight as the man and not the woman. You can't be in your feelings. You can't be in your bag, not for too long. Even Messiah got down at the water well, but he had to show resilience. Communication. Ooh, here's one right here. Man, even though I was batting high averages in the military, far as my career, I didn't realize my communication at home sucked. It sucked because it's one thing to give instruction to people that have been taught a certain way to receive it. Go put that in the wall locker at work. People know, all right, let me go put it over here. I know this goes there. But at home, no, 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 no. I couldn't sit up and just tell my wife to, hey, take this shirt and put it in the bedroom. And we got 3-4 bedrooms. Which bedroom? And it took some failure and accountability on me as the leader to say, man, I'm a poor communicator. I should have gave her more details. And I remember being upset because my wife didn't do it to the standard that I had in my head, but I didn't articulate it. So now I try my best to articulate, to over communicate, to ensure that the message has been received. That way, when, I give her something to do, she can pretty much relay back and we have shared understanding of what the mission is. That way we can avoid some of these communication errors. But I was a poor communicator in the beginning. Let's keep going. Confidence, the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something. Firm trust. I talked about today's men being confident, prideful, and arrogant without having leadership competence, without actually knowing how to lead a woman and where to lead a woman. If you're not following Messiah, following the will of the Most High, where are you leading her? A feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. We got these men out here that think that they are God's gift to women. And you know what they're good for? Being a stud, being a bull, slinging dick all over the place, and don't have the abilities or qualities to actually lead a woman. Sirach chapter 6, verse 18. My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so thou shalt find wisdom till thine old age. Man, you have to, as a man, if you want to be a strong man, you have to be in sync and in unison with the word. You need to constantly be studying. Allow yourself to be sharp. Man, if you've ever looked at Two pieces of iron rubbing against one another, if you get enough friction going, it gets heated. Sparks start flying. Man, that is the uncomfortable experience of letting a man of great wisdom sharpen you when you already think you got it. Humbling yourself to just sit there and take the sharpening and allow somebody else to pour into you so you don't have to fail. Most men aren't willing to go through that. That comes with rebuke, strong rebuke. That comes with chastisement. That comes with shame. There's a lot of pain in this. Also, a lot of righteousness in it if you can endure it. Delegation. Effective delegation is a mark of a confident and capable leader. By entrusting tasks to team members based on their strength and skills, leaders empower their teams to take ownership and develop their abilities. This frees up the leader to focus on strategic aspects of their role. So you think about that in a household, the delegation and how you have to be able to do that as the head of your household, headship and patriarchy. It'll free you up to be able to talk to the Most High Yah and for him to continue to give you guidance on where he wants you to go. To delegate is the ability to let go of control and trust the fact that you have trained people under your supervision, you've trained them adequately, and you trust in their abilities to be able to execute. Courage. Leadership often requires making tough decisions and facing challenges head on. Woo, boy, I tell you, some of these conversations I realized early on in my marriage, I would not face head on. I would kind of sulk and be quiet and stick to myself when courage is the ability to address it head on. Contrary to what everybody's feeling, what everybody's thinking, because the longer you let it prolong, the more division there is. Courageous leaders are willing to take calculated risk, stand up for their beliefs, and confront difficult situations even when uncomfortable. Man, there's times in my house where I had to say the Most High Messiah comes first and stand on it. We call standing on business. Passion. Think about the term or the phrase passion of the Christ, passion of the Messiah, strong and barely controllable emotion, the suffering and death of Messiah. He had passion. Let's keep going. Accountability. Accountability means taking responsibilities for one's action and decision. When leaders hold themselves accountable, they set a standard of responsibility for their team, fostering a culture of ownership and reliability. Man, that means taking accountability over your kids, over your woman. When something happens outside the house, you got to take accountability for the sake of getting them back to the house so you can find out what's really going on, do some retraining, get into some prayer, ask the Most High Yah to give you what you need to be able to teach the people under your supervision, whether it be your wife or your kids. Active listening. Active listening is a way of listening and responding to another person that improves mutual understanding. It's not always about talking about what you know. Listen sometimes, because people will tell you if they understand what is being taught or what the message is. But if you're too busy talking, you can't actively listen. Vision. Woo, vision. Man, men have to have vision. Where do you want to go? Where are you headed? Where are you trying not to go? I would tell you, because I didn't have vision as a man, I was headed to headed to darkness. I was headed to Sheol, headed to hell, being a place of existence where you are lost. You're getting your ass whooped by your own choices and decisions. That's all because I didn't have vision. A leader's vision provides direction and purpose for their team. You got to think about this. As a man, if you don't know where you're leading your family, where do you expect them to go? What do you expect their measure of success to be? How set apart do you think your kids and your woman are if you're not focused and have a vision on being set apart? Sacrifice. Man, we got a lot of men that think that they sacrifice. And I would beg to differ because we wouldn't have some of these problems with some of these soft men that are comfortable being soft. That's what I'm talking about. The ones that's comfortable being soft, comfortable being sorry, comfortable being worthless, that was created off the backs of the labor of hardened men that created this environment for you. And you're not even willing to pay it forward. Sacrifice. For the men that think that they sacrifice, let's look at the definition of sacrifice: an act of slaughtering an animal or person or surrendering a possession as an offering to the Most High or a divine or supernatural figure. Think about that. Romans chapter 12, verse 1-2. I appeal to you, brothers, by the mercies of the Most High, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to the Most High, which is your spiritual worship. I don't care what kind of worship you think you're doing on Sunday, sun worship. If you're not willing to be a sacrifice, it ain't worship. It says, do not be conformed to this world. Separate yourself as a man. Come out from these worldly men. Be on the right side of the law to try to reverse some of these statistics. So when Messiah returns, he can say, man, there's my good and faithful servant. There's my warrior. There's my David that's going up against the world, Goliath, Hasatan, the adversary. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Man, the pinnacle of male leadership is righteousness. That by testing you may discern what is the will of the Most High, what is good and acceptable and perfect. A good leader is not going to be naive. A strong leader, a strong man is not going to be gullible. A lot of this stuff that is the convenience of the world and new technology, you need to push away from because it's making you soft. You know, man, where I live, we have a riding lawnmower. But my grandfather didn't allow me to as a child, to get on a riding lawnmower without putting in sweat equity to appreciate it. Walking that push mower that wasn't self-propelled. The wheels didn't have enough lubrication, and you almost had to fight that thing. Man, we got to raise up the next generation of men to ensure they're getting hardened. There's a process of steel getting hardened. And if it doesn't get hardened, it doesn't have a extreme level of strength. It's still weak. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of the Most High, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Long suffering, having or showing patience in spite of troubles, especially those caused by other people. Man, if you want strong families, men are going to have to endure long suffering. Teaching and leading is painful because you are the first one to go to the conflict, to sacrifice yourself in order to be slaughtered for the protection of others. That's what that means. Grit is a personality trait possessed by individuals who demonstrate passion and perseverance toward a goal despite being confronted by significant obstacles and distractions. Philippians chapter 2, verse 7. This is Messiah, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. You got to think about being perfect, being flawless. He wasn't heady and high-minded. He wasn't arrogant. He wasn't prideful. Being perfect, still submitted himself to the form of a servant. John chapter 6, verse 38. For I came down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And you have these men that run around thinking that Jesus made his own religion called Christianity. I'm talking to you. No. He came to do the will of the Father. He came to be a servant, a sacrifice, to be the example of what it means to be a strong man. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13 through 14. It doesn't matter what you think your purpose in life. Oftentimes we hear men say, find your purpose. And then they lead you in the path of your career and X, Y, and Z. I'm here to tell you that that crap don't matter, because it comes down to this. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. What was the first thing on your mind when you woke up this morning? Throw that crap in the trash can if it wasn't serving the Most High. Verse 14. For the Most High shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good, whether it be evil. So it doesn't matter. You may think you're getting away with stuff. Most High Yah's taking record of it. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is man, and the head of Hamashiach is the Most High. There's a chain of command. There's structure there. You just don't say, man, I'm head of household because I'm the man in the house. No, that's a position that you got to know how to fill. You got to have the qualities, the capabilities, the abilities, the attributes to be able to do that righteously. 1 Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Man, it's time to put away these childish things. It's time to put them away. How long you going to sit up and play Xbox and play PlayStation while there's stuff that you need to be getting done? We're in a generation where some of our women are trying to actually pave a way, and they work harder than you do. You come home and play PlayStation or Call of Duty, and she's actually trying to get the family further than you. Matthew chapter 12, verse 29. Or how can someone enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods unless he first binds the strong man? Then indeed he may plunder his house. When you look up the bad statistics that go along with single mother households and fatherless households, they got the worst statistics. Rapists, criminals, suicide, depression, anxiety. They got the single motherhood. If the father is not in that house, this is all the stuff that them kids is susceptible to. Your young son, your young daughter, chances are she'll be a single mother. Your young boy, chances are he'd be a teenage dad, lost in the sauce. That's why you got to stand in your position, play your position. Leave all this worldly stuff alone and just play your position. First Chronicles 28:20. And David said to Solomon his son, be strong and of good courage, and do it. Fear not, nor be dismayed, for the Lord, the Most High Yah, even my God, will be with thee. He will not fail thee nor forsake thee until thou have finished all the work from the service of the house of the Lord. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 1 through 4. Now the days of David grew near that he should die, and he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. We need stronger men. We need stronger men. We don't need no lip gloss wearing, weave wearing, skinny jeans, nutsack showing, want to show your booty. We don't need none of that. Man, a good, strong, righteous man. Man, we're experiencing the last of a dying breed. The set apart man is few and far in between. You got to think in biblical days. He said the preacher looked amongst 1,000 men, 1,000 people, and amongst those 1,000, he only found one righteous man, no women. What do you think the odds are today? And show thyself a man, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses. Wait a minute. That thou mayest prosper in all that thou do, and wheresoever thou turnest thyself. That the Lord may continue his word, which he spoke concerning me, saying, if thou children take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth with all their heart and with all their soul, there shall not fail thee, said he, a man on the throne of Israel. That's manhood. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. That's not saying woman. You can go throw a rock and hit a woman. But even when you find a woman that you feel and discern as a wife, you still got to lead her. Because that's the order of the Most High, and obtains favor from the Lord. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 5. For this you know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous person, who is an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Hamashiach and the Most High. Whoremonger. I was one of them. Definitely was a whoremonger. I did it. I wouldn't challenge nobody to come behind me and do it the way I did. I'm telling you, it takes deliverance to get out of being a whoremonger. Greek word 4205, pornos. A man who indulges in unlawful sexual intercourse. Everything is tied back to the law. A fornicator, a male prostitute, a man who prostitutes his body to another's lust for hire. We got men out here today that they lay down with women just to get their phone bill paid. Revelations chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints, the endurance of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Messiah. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8. If anyone fails to provide for his own, especially for those of his own family, he has denied the faith by disregarding its precepts, and is worse than an unbeliever who fulfills his obligation in these matters. I tell you, as a strong man that's striving to be stronger in righteousness, man, I can't hang around no man that don't take care of his kids. I don't care what happened in that relationship. The onus is on you by the Most High Yah to take care of them kids with the necessities, all that wants and all of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about necessities. But we got men out here that say, man, I can't have a woman, so I ain't taking care of these kids. What you think that's doing for the next generation of men? First Peter chapter 3, verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. This is your woman, giving honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, as being heirs. That means you're entitled to the possession together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered. Knowledge. Deal with a woman according to knowledge, not according to your sorry feelings, emotions, and opinions. Knowledge is facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education. The theoretical or practical understanding of a subject, awareness, or a familiarity gained by experience of a fact or situation. You can't lead no woman if you ain't in this word. You ain't leading her nowhere righteous. You might as well just lead. You might as well just walk into a wall. Weaker, liable to break or give away under pressure, easily damaged. That's why a woman needs a strong man as a covering. Got to look at Adam and Eve in the garden. Just imagine if Adam would have done this. Adam would have been a strong man. Understand, dealing with her based upon knowledge. Hey, I understand. Right now you're being tempted. It don't make sense to you, but I'm telling you, don't eat from that doggone tree. You got to think about what his judgment would have been if he would have done that. Weaker. It's not saying you weak. It's just weaker, liable to break or give away under pressure, easily damaged. Why do you think Hasatan attacked the woman first? Wisdom, the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment, the quality of being wise, the body of knowledge and principles that develops within a specified society or period, the soundness of an action or decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Man, today I'm here to tell you that if you didn't know, now you're going to know. Your children, your woman, your household is a direct reflection of your leadership and your level of righteousness. It's a direct reflection, man. How can I, as a man, expect my woman to be righteous if I'm lawless, if I'm an iniquity worker? How can I expect my kids to be set apart if I'm not willing to set myself apart righteously? If I'm speaking death, how can I expect anybody else under my leadership to speak life? If I rebel against the Most High, how can I expect anybody else in my household to obey? Man, tonight I know this message was hard to hear for some men, but you got to think, man, I'm not on here talking to you about sports. I'm not on here talking to you about worldly stuff. Man, I'm talking to you about something that you can take to the bank. You can take to the bank. Man, men out here, there is a spirit that gives understanding. There is a spirit of truth, and the world doesn't know it. Man, I would encourage you to humble yourself and seek the Most High Yah's face and repent for your sins and receive the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, so that spirit can guide you on this journey. Man, if I wouldn't have submitted myself to the will of the Most High Yah, man, I don't know what my life would look like, because the way it was going wasn't nowhere pretty. Man, I want to thank all the brothers for tuning in. We got Maurice Delva, shalom. We got McCoy White, shalom. MK Gaming in the Philippines, shalom. We got Shaol Yazreel. Hey, if you have it on your heart to help that brother out, he's very easy to reach. He gave you some messages. Lend that brother a hand. Lend that brother a hand if it's in your heart. But thank you for tuning into this one tonight. Share this. Because all of the stuff that we watch on Netflix, all the stuff that's in the media and in the news, a lot of this stuff ain't worth a dang in the likeness of the Most High. So this is just my efforts of trying to use this platform to be of great influence that's pleasing to the Most High Yah, while I strive to be a stronger and stronger man myself. Closer to Yah Ministries, kicking that thing gun barrel straight.